Hey, everybody, welcome to the Tuesday edition of Winners and Winers Radio. I'm your host, Scott Steehn, lead handicapper at winnersandwiners.com.
And I'm your co-host, Scott Reichel, senior handicapper over at winnersandwiners.com.
And together we make up Winners and Winers Radio. Give us an hour, and we'll give you the winners and some laughs, a little bit of knowledge. We're going to drop some knowledge on you, all kinds of fun stuff. We've got a great show today, Scott. We're going to talk a little college football. We're going to talk a little baseball. We're going to talk some Olympics. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. We're going to introduce a new segment, Holding Out for a Hero, Scott, and we have one lined up for today, so I'll be looking forward to that. And, of course, stick around because we will have our Bet the Farm segment coming up where Scott and I come up with our very best play of the day and tell you what it is and why you should bet the farm on it. So, Scott, how was your Monday? You do okay?
Yeah, overall went well betting-wise. Ended up having the Rays on the run line. They ended up winning easily. Pretty much all I had. Didn't really have anything else. I also had the Braves, actually, and they ended up winning pretty easily. But other than that, though, it wasn't a great day because I was supposed to see a concert on Tuesday, and the lead singer of the main band got COVID, so they had to cancel the concert. Not fun.
You not want to tell everybody who it is?
It was Korn. I'm not ashamed to admit
tell us
it.
who it was?
Yeah, it was Korn. I was supposed to see Korn and Steehn, and Jonathan Davis, the lead guy for Korn, got COVID. So I was supposed to see them twice. Got canceled both times. Not meant to be, man. Not meant to be.
The universe trying to tell you something, Scott.
It is.
McFly. I think it's the universe trying to tell you that the '90s are over. That's my guess. But
I don't know if I agree with that, but.
Well, and I'm hardly one to speak, as I've seen so many bands where there's have way too many guys in their 60s and 70s. So, yeah, I can't give you a hard time about that. I hope it all comes together for you at some point, Scott, and I hope you're able to go see Korn and, of course, Stained. And you don't want stained corn. That's not good at all. So, Fantastic. Yeah, I had those same two plays as premium plays. I had the Atlanta Braves, and we had, of course, you and I were getting ready for the show. You almost feel dirty. You almost feel like you're stealing money fading Baltimore right now with Matt Harvey on the map. Come on. And it was nuts, Scott. It's crazy how bad that team is playing right now, and it's kind of nuts as far as what the price is. But you know what? We may get to that here in just a minute. But before we do, let's start it off, Scott, with maybe some folks that are grinding their teeth right now and maybe even cursing us because they didn't do as well as we did. They didn't have that great day. In fact, they thought they had winners, and then they didn't have winners. They took it in the shorts. All they wanted to do was get mad at us, Scott, and then when they should be doing is calling the cops. All right, let's talk about the first case of highway robbery here. If you had the Chicago Cubs team total under 4.5, you were looking great. 0 runs through seventh inning. You couldn't be looking any better. Literally, couldn't be looking any better. All they needed to do, Scott, and who were the Cubs playing this evening? Remind everybody.
They're playing against the Reds.
Oh, the Reds. I've heard that their bullpen is less than stellar. Am I remembering that correctly?
I did read that somewhere.
Well, I believe we saw it in action because the Cubs, well, they broke your heart in one inning, Scott. 7 innings, no runs. It just took the 8th inning to destroy everybody's team total under as Chicago puts up 5 runs in the 8th. Absolutely unnecessary because they were getting curb stomped. They end up losing the game 14-5. That's right. 14-5. Thank you very much. Cubs team total under 4.5. Hey, call the cops.
And looking at the second one, we're going to be looking at Summer League basketball because why not? If you had the Pistons -1.5 against the Magic, first of all, go to a meeting. Second of all, the Pistons led by 3 points with less than 2 seconds left. The Magic had a bunch of three-point attempts because they're down 3, of course, trying to tie the game. Couple misses here and there. One last miss for good measure in the last second. Wait a minute. Somebody wanted to pad their stats a little bit. Can I interest you in a meaningless tip-in at the buzzer for 2 points just to lose the game by 1?
Oof. Brutal. Just brutal. Well, good to see the NBA bad beats are in regular season form.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's No breaks in the regular season, no breaks in summer ball. Hey, let's finish up with the New York Metropolitan, Scott. You had the first 5 money line there. They were in good shape. They were leading 3-2. Of course, you got to sweat it out because it's first 5, but they were in good shape. They had the lead going into the bottom of the 5th. Uh-oh. Here comes Chris Bryant. 2-run bomb. The Giants, well, they lead 4-3 after 5 innings. And if you had the Mets on the money line for the first 5, you were oh so close, because in front of Bryant, I can't remember who it's in front of Bryant, but he banged it off the wall. It looked like it was going to be gone. Of course, that wall's 117 feet high there in right center field, so he banged it off the wall for a double. I'm sure you breathed a sigh of relief if you had that first 5, but it didn't last long before you were done exhaling. Bryant launched it, and you were beat. Call the cops.
Yep. And not a fun time when your team also scores 3 runs to take the lead in the 5th inning, just to blow it about 2 minutes later.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Well, Scott, the opposite of that, these were people that joined us today, as you and I had a couple of easy victories. These are our friends that were right there with us. They were sitting in the rocking chair.
So the first one involved the Tampa Bay Rays team that I talked about at the top of the show. -1.5, led 5-1 after 5 innings, led 8-1 after 6 innings, won the game 9-2. If you're betting Baltimore, why? But we'll talk about that in a little while once again.
You need to go to several meetings. You need to go to perhaps Gamblers Anonymous. You need to find out why you hate yourself. You need to find out why you hate money. There's a lot of things you need to explore if you're betting on Baltimore right now. I mean, I get it. It's kind of the gambler's fallacy because, Scott, they can't lose every game by 17 runs. Sooner or later, they're due, right?
Well, the pitching improved on Sunday against Boston, and then they gave up 9 runs again. So they're back to their usual terrible pitching ways.
Well, Scott, if you had the Los Angeles Angels, New York Yankees under 8.5, didn't look great after the first inning. They were not at all where they needed to be. New York led 2-1 after the first inning. However, I hope you didn't wait to the stadium to get that beer and that brat, because if you were in line in the first inning, you missed the entire game, because the next 8 innings, no more runs, Scott, none at all. The final, New York Yankees 2, Los Angeles Angels 1. 2 teams not exactly known for their stellar bullpens, but they had it on point on Monday night. And if you had the under 8.5, after the first inning was over, you had nothing to sweat.
And the last one was Summer League once again. If you had the Thunder +3 against the Spurs, Thunder led by 22 at the half, ended up winning by 25. And the San Antonio Spurs, I believe that's their final Summer League game. I'm sure they're thrilled because they were awful all Summer League long.
How did this is what I get when I don't check in rehearsal. How did the Summer League game beat the Atlanta Braves in their 12-2 win over the Miami Marlins?
I originally had that, and I thought we had a little bit too much baseball, so I decided to throw in a basketball one in there for fun.
All right.
You also had the Braves on there, who won handily.
Making those executive decisions, huh, young buck?
Well, I know we try to spread it out, show the sports betting diversity on here, so I figured might as well throw in some basketball that, of course, was exhibition for some, but profit or money lost for others.
Did you see there was a bad bet? There was a bad beat at ski jumping too. Did you see that?
I could have mentioned tennis. I could have.
I know you can always find 3 bad beats on the tennis courts.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. All right. Well, very good. Well, Scott, let's talk about we did have a little hard time. Usually we have many contenders for this next award. People just climbing all over themselves to strap on the golden feed bag, but we found one. We found one interesting entity. And it may not be the last time that we hand the golden feed bag to this entity. We're going to find out who it is, Scott. Let's get ready. Tell your friends, call your neighbors, put your phone on mute, because it's time to find out who is Donkey of the Day. Scott, I had somebody in the comment section say that was clearly a mule, not a donkey.
That's a bad beat.
I don't know enough to know if they're right or wrong. It's not a horse, not a zebra. I can tell you that. I got to narrow it down to a couple. All right, Scott. Let's go to the AP voters in the preseason college football poll. Now, this one takes a little bit to unpack here. Let's start with the fact that this preseason poll came out. It's got some interesting things about it. We could certainly talk about that. But perhaps the most ridiculous thing on there, the Pac-12 has five teams listed in the top 25 teams in the country: Oregon, USC, Washington, Utah, and Arizona State. Scott, how many teams finished in the AP top 25 last year from the Pac-12? Do you remember?
I believe there were 3 to start the season and ended up with 1.
That is correct. USC was 21st. That was the only team to make an appearance in the final AP poll. Like I said, there were 3 to start the season. AP voters, I'm sorry. You're drunk, you're morons, and you are indeed the donkeys of the day. There is absolutely no way, Scott. No way. What's the correct total for Pac-12 teams to finish in the top 25?
By season's end, or you mean
yes,
what?
By season's end, yes.
I'll say 3, maybe 4, with a couple in the 20s.
Yeah, it's USC, it's Washington, it's Oregon, and that's going to be it.
I think Utah might sneak in, so maybe 4. But Arizona State, I'm shocked they're in the top 25.
Haven't seen it from them yet. They don't have the ability to win the games they should win. They're competitive in tough games, but they always have those stupid losses. Your Colorados, your Arizonas, those games they have no business losing. I have no confidence in Herm Edwards to win the big game. Sorry, Utah. Sorry, Arizona State. Not going to happen. Go home. You're drunk.
Now, don't get me wrong. Of course, it's before the season starts, so some teams might have a lot of potential. But the issue with potential is the fact that the Pac-12 is still viewed as a Power 5 conference. It's more of just symbolic of why this is Donkey of the Day, because it seems like with 5 teams, the committee's still trying to group the Pac-12 with the other Power 4 conferences, and they're clearly the worst of the 5, and it's not even close. Can we just acknowledge that they're closer, I don't want to say closer to a mid-major than a Power 5 conference, but they do not deserve the same respect. They have the same amount of teams in the top 25 as the Big Ten. That's a problem.
That is a problem. And do you think the Pac-12 is worse than the Big 12? Because they don't have an Oklahoma?
Yeah, I think it's worse because at the top you would at least have 2 usually top 10 teams, because Iowa State's been fringe top 10 for a year or 2. I know they would have been potentially top 5 if they beat Oklahoma in the conference title game. But yeah, I think the Big 12 is better. You can argue the bottom might be worse, but the Pac-12, when your ceiling is Oregon, and Oregon's usually finishing the year, somewhere between 10 and 15?
Yeah.
That's not exactly a good look for a conference. That's in the Power 5.
No, and by the way, the Big 12 has exactly 3 teams in the preseason top 25. You want to know who they are? You want to take a guess?
Big 12?
Yeah.
I'm guessing that you're going to have Oklahoma,
Sure.
Texas. Not Texas?
Oh, I'm sorry. There is 4. My bad.
Yeah, so you're going to have those 2, then you're going to have Oklahoma State, and then you're going to – yeah, okay.
And then the Iowa State.
Yeah, of course.
So there's your 4. So you're telling me that the Big 12 is not as good as the Pac-12? Nope. I would take Oklahoma State over anybody in the Pac-12 with the possible exception of Oregon and Washington.
I still don't like Cristobal as a coach, so I don't have faith in Oregon because I think Cristobal is an abysmal in-game coach.
He must not have a crystal ball.
Wow. Mm-hmm. It was sitting there.
I'm sorry. That's, and we actually do a rehearsal, and I snuck that one by you.
Yes, you did.
Just like you snuck the NBA rocking chair by me. Crystal ball. That is right back at you. And a quick reminder to everybody out there, you are listening to Winners and Whiners Radio. Give us an hour. We'll give you the winners. Oh, man. Hey, Scott, it seems like we're going to have to name this segment the Baltimore Orioles Memorial segment, because it seems to be pretty much a consistent thing throughout our show, but we're going to do it again, and we're going to tell you why. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, the odds makers, they're sitting over there in VIP, and they're cranking those bottles of Cristal. They're doing shots of Remy because apparently they are extremely drunk, Scott. The odds makers, they're drunk. Just put that anywhere. Scott, why are the odds makers drunk again today?
So we talked about it twice already, but third time's the charm here. If you had the Tampa Bay Rays on the run line, -1.5, it opened up at -120. And you might be thinking, well, it's a run line. It's not plus money, so the odds should be decent. Baltimore, not exactly good at keeping games close. If I had told you that entering yesterday's game, the Orioles had lost each of their previous 11 games by 2+ runs, shouldn't the Rays run line have automatically been -150, if not higher?
Would think so. I actually had that game, and I had that game set out as a premium because I like to get them out early so that my clients can beat the lines. And I actually did not have a run line on that. I estimated it at 145 for an opener, and it ended up being 120. Absolutely ridiculous. Yes, and they have now lost 12 straight games, and only one has been closer than 3 runs, and that was like you said, a 2-run game. Everything else has been 3 runs or higher. They are being outscored by a ridiculous margin. Folks, until further notice, please, friends don't let friends bet on the Orioles. If you think maybe the streak's going to come to an end tonight, maybe John Means is going to step up and have a great performance, that's fine. Don't bet Tampa Bay. But for God's sakes, until you see some kind of signs of life, stop betting on the Orioles. Because,
by the way, for the record, Tampa won that game 9-2.
Yeah. So let's see. They had outscored them. Let me say they had outscored them 104-34. So now it is 113-36 over the last 12 games.
The only team that's playing arguably the same quality ball is Chicago, because I think the Cubs are 1-14 in August.
Right.
A lot of really bad teams in baseball.
All right. A lot of drunk odds makers too.
Mm-hmm.
No question about it. All right, guys. Well, there is value as we come down the home stretch here. We're joking about it. We're talking about it. But this is the time. I know I've switched gears in my play, Scott, and playing a lot more run lines. Are you doing the same thing?
Yeah. You can notice based on how the odds have shifted that it seems like it's starting to be the official time leading up to September where the good teams realize what they have to do against bad teams.
Right.
And the bad teams have kind of realized we got no shot at the playoffs, so we're going to roll over and die now.
Yeah, they're bringing up, maybe some of those guys that have been nursing those injuries all year long, where if they were in a race, they could, you could gut it out and play. Those guys are sitting out. You're bringing up guys from the minors. So, yeah, it's a situation where I think the rich are going to flex their muscles and the poor are going to wish the season was over. So there'll probably be a lot more run lines going forward from both of us would be my guess. So I'm excited for baseball as we finish up here. But, Scott, I'm a football guy. I'm excited for football. Now, are you more NFL or are you more a college guy?
When it comes to betting and watching, I'm more college.
Okay. Yeah, I probably like betting for sure. I think the college game is easier to beat just because there's so many games.
I have no problems admitting that the NFL, I wouldn't say it's bet proof when it comes to odds makers and all, but it's definitely the hardest league to find consistent value with because those odds makers might mess up in WNBA All-Star games. They might mess up in baseball games, whatever.
Yeah.
For football, it's usually nails.
They're pretty sober for NFL season, buddy.
Yes.
Because that's where everybody's bread is buttered in this business.
That's why I like college, because the quantity is huge. You have hundreds of games, including the FCS and everything like that.
Absolutely, and even in FBS, you've got those games down at the bottom of the card between the also rans and the AAC and the Sun Belt.
Mm-hmm.
There's a ton of value in those games if you just pay attention. You just don't have that in the NFL because everybody's betting on it, and those lines are super sharp. So, With that being said, the NFL, of course, is going to 17 games this season from their regular 16-game season. A lot of people have made a deal of it, talking about which records are most likely to be shattered, broken, if you will. Scott, I know Dan Marino made a little bit of news because he came out and said that if he were playing today with Clayton and Duper, he could throw for 6,000 yards. That's the magic figure, by the way, Scott. 6,000 yards. Now, I believe it was 1959, Johnny Unitas became the first player to throw for 3,000 yards. So we've come a long way here in the last 60 years or so. Of course, Dan Marino, first guy in the NFL to throw for 5,000 yards. He threw for 5,000 in 38 yards in 16 games. He never did it again, by the way. And now he's saying that he could get to 6,000 in 17 games. First of all, is Dan Marino on some sort of narcotic, or is he just deluded? What do you think, Scott? Is there any possibility Dan Marino could throw for 6,000 yards?
No, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to give what he said more merit than Terry Bradshaw criticizing the accuracy of Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
I'm sure you forgot about that one. That's probably the stupidest thing I've heard from a Hall of Fame quarterback during the offseason. The Marino stuff, he wants to get his name in the mix. People tend to forget just how good Marino was. His comments and the Bradshaw comments were both out of left field. I think the Bradshaw comments are worse, but it's also because Aaron Rodgers is significantly better than Bradshaw ever was. Marino can have the hypothetical scenario of, well, if we threw the ball 50-something times every game like how most teams do nowadays, you make an argument with the spacing, the 5-wide offense, stuff like that. Maybe he could push 5,500.
Right.
But I wouldn't give him 6,000. I think you need to add another game for anybody to reach 6,000.
No, and in case you're wondering why we were laughing so hard about Bradshaw, and if you ever want to get a good chuckle, go ahead and look at some of the numbers of some of these quarterbacks that are in the Hall of Fame. Your Bradshaws, guys like Lynn Dawson, John Hadle, things like that. Bradshaw completed 51.9% of his passes, Scott. 51.9%. He threw 212 touchdown passes, 210 interceptions over his career.
So does that make him like the Cy Young of Hall of Fame quarterbacks?
What do you mean with his stats?
Because he's got the most wins and losses, like that kind of stuff. You look back and realize there's some good, but also a lot of bad when you reflect back on some stats.
Yeah, when you make a lot of starts, there's a lot of bad too. So I don't think, Terry Bradshaw, he's a funny guy. He makes me chuckle.
That was from months ago. I just brought that back out of the woodwork.
Yeah, he was in the league for 6 years before he threw more touchdown passes than interceptions.
Yeah.
So he can sit the flock down, Scott, is what I'm, and like they say in church, just sit the flock down.
I think Marino's still an all-time talent. I'll spot him 5,500.
Sure, I'm not, and I don't want to disparage Dan Marino. Great quarterback, Duper and Clayton. When they weren't doing blow, great receivers.
Well, even when they were doing blow, they might have been good receivers.
Even faster. That's right.
Yeah.
Which one of these records is that one going to fall? It's 54-77 right now, and that was set by whom, Scott?
The Sheriff.
The Sheriff.
Recent Hall of Fame inductee, Peyton Manning.
So is that going to fall? Which one of the top 10 is most likely to fall? Rushing yards, passing yards, touchdowns. Which one's the most untouchable?
Most untouchable?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. It might be the rushing touchdowns.
Okay.
I mean, that's just crazy. I mean, you can look at really any of them. The tackles are nuts, but you're adding a game, so maybe somebody can go crazy and challenge Ray Lewis. I doubt it. The rushing touchdowns, though, with the rushing yards, I don't know how long it's going to take for us to see 2,100, let alone passing Dickerson. But with the increasing reliance on passing, I think we'd agree passing yards is most likely to fall, potentially by numerous guys this season. As for the rushing, if you're going to throw the ball more, you're clearly going to stop running the ball. So I'm assuming rushing yards are going to stand for a long time. You?
Yeah, 2105 ED back in 1984. I think that one is going to stay in for a while, at least until the game circles back around and puts more emphasis on the running backs, because that ain't happening right now. That's like complete game, Scott.
Yeah.
Nobody's touching the complete game record. Nobody's getting within 20 of the record of complete games. So I believe that's going to be a tough one to follow. Though, Derrick Henry, having said that, Scott, he was 78 yards short last year. He put up 27 last year in 2021. So
he also ran for like 4,000 yards in the final game of the regular season to get close to that. But yes,
I think the most likely to fall, it's probably passing yards. I would agree with that. I think passing touchdowns is going to be it will fall as well
at some point. Probably not this year.
55 is the record there. You know what? Mahomes had 50.
Yeah.
So give him another game. I think that's absolutely possible.
Do you think yards fall this year? Because I do.
The yards, I'm just trying to think who's going to be coming after it. Yeah, who do you think? Who are you thinking? You thinking Mahomes? Who else?
I'm thinking, I don't want to say Stafford, but I think Stafford might have a shot if the Rams decide to air it out. I doubt it, but Mahomes is obviously going to be your safe guess. You want to throw in Rodgers in there if he wants to go nuts in his final season in Green Bay. Maybe Josh Allen potentially, because the Bills have a couple running backs, but none of them are very good.
I've seen predictions of Josh Allen for MVP. I think there's some smart people making plays there.
Wouldn't surprise me. He gets bet for the last couple of years, and he proved he was elite, so I can see that happening.
All right, very good. Oh, we're going to be talking a lot more about that as the season goes on. So, Scott, the umpires, they're not good. They are especially bad this year, Scott. They are calling for starters, and I don't know. This is almost. Do you think there's a dictate from the league office to call fewer strikes?
I don't really know, but if you want to speed up the game, you should call more strikes.
Yeah, it seems to be counterintuitive about what they want to do. Umpires have called fewer strikes than any point at this point in the season than at any season since 2008. And they only picked 2008 because that's the first year that you really started having advanced metrics as far as SnapCast and things like that, where you could really track it. But overall, it's got 776 fewer strikes have been called than should have been called based on location and who was at bat. And if it sounds like a lot, but you don't really have a baseline, well, let me throw this at you. During the first half of 2019, they missed it by 79. And in fact, they overcalled it. There were 79 more strikes called than expected. And in 2008, of course, this is all for the first half of the season. In 2018, 31 fewer. Again, this season, 776 fewer strikes that have been called than should have been called. And there's a company called True Media. They put together a model. They estimated that because of those calls, there should have been 111 more runs. Have we found the culprit, Scott? Was the killer in the house the whole time that we were out running around looking at baseballs and looking at the grip and the whatnot, and we're doing the checking their belt, and the whole time has it been the umpire's fault?
I think they need to get some younger guys into the umpire union. These guys can't see the plate.
That's a very, very hard job to do. And I am consistently amazed by how often the umpires get it right on the bases. Bang, bang plays, replay, super slow-mo shows. Most times they got it right. The exception is the umpire behind home plate, and it has been awful this season. Scott, you alluded to it on Twitter the other day. Is it time for robo-umps?
I don't know about robo-umps, but at the end of the day, you have so many potential up-and-coming umps or referees in various sports. I know we mentioned this in basketball during the basketball season. Can we start to see more young guys actually being implemented? Because I feel like I've seen the same group of 50 umps, or if not, like 20 umps for the last, 20-something years? Can we get some younger guys getting some reps?
I agree, because, you look at basketball, you look at the NFL, you've got the guys, and now there's some age on some NFL officials, especially in the referee position, but they're all in terrific shape. They've all got to run up and down the field. They've all got to get out of the way. The umpires, Scott, to be generous, some of them aren't, would you say, tip-top physical condition?
They're running to the buffet. Is that a way to put it?
Yep, that's absolutely a way to put it. All right, I've got one more story that I want to talk about, and we'll do that right after this break. All right, cool. I think things are going pretty super sweet.
Yeah, feels that way.
All right, so we'll brush on this Olympic thing real quick here, and and then we'll talk about what we're going to talk about. Oh, Hero. I didn't put it in the actual thing.
Mm. It's really a tremendous sound effect. It's not gonna. I don't think it's as good as Donkey, but it's definitely up there. You know.
I agree. All right, we're at 10 seconds.
All good. I'm just gonna chill here while you bring it back.
All right. I'm gonna make another noise here. All right, everybody. Welcome back to Winners and Winers Radio half hour number 2. Give us an hour and we'll give you the winners. Well, Scott, Tokyo finally bid adieu to the Olympics. Thanks for leaving us with a bunch of COVID. We certainly appreciate that. Here's a little something to take back to your home country. So the Olympics, if you're not aware, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners are aware of this, it is a huge, gigantic scam. It is basically just an exercise to make money for the International Olympic Committee and all of their members. The things that they ask for when they come to town and they do the bids, it's pretty much just out and out bribery. And it is prohibitively expensive to host the games. Scott, Tokyo's original budget that was supposed to be implemented for the Olympics, $7.4 billion. By the way, that's a city, not a country, not a state. That's Tokyo. The actual cost, a little better than twice that, $15.4 billion. But that doesn't even include like pregame construction, the roads, other major projects that they had to do to improve the infrastructure and give people access and things like that. They still don't have a host for the 2030 Winter Games. It looks like countries and cities are figuring it out, that it's gigantic boondoggle. I know it put Brazil in the hole big time to host the 2016 Rio Olympics. Is it time to just put the Olympics in one spot and just stop this madness? They used to like to move it around because we give everybody a chance to see the Olympics. They've never seen the Olympics before. There was no TV. But now everybody's got every event. You basically have access to every event at the Olympics if you pay for the right program. And is there any reason that we move it around? Does a swimming pool look different in Tokyo than it does in Rio, Scott? What are we doing here?
Well, if you want to talk about how much it costs to actually host it, then when you want to move all the Olympics to one location, are you saying that every country would divide the cost evenly, or how would that work out?
Well, I think you would have one place that could handle the cost. They'd build fantastic structures, and then they would reap the benefits every 4 years. Everybody would come to their town, they'd make a little money, and it would be a sunk cost, but they wouldn't have to do it every 4 years.
Well, that was kind of the main question I had, was because if you're going to host it and it's going to cost you a lot of money anyway, moving it to one location, would that even secure you a profit at all?
It should. It should with TV rights. I mean, it's all about the TV anyway.
I was going to say, it might work if you redo the entire revenue sharing program, but that takes some effort, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah, it would probably take an effort that is beyond the capability or the desire of the IOC.
Why would the IOC want to change anything? They're making all the money.
Exactly. But I think this is something that is going to have to eventually just be done, because like the last round of bidding where they just gave the Summer Olympics of 2032 to Melbourne, they really had one other serious competitor, and it was Azerbaijan. That was the only other country that had a substantial bid that went to the final process. So that's what we've come to, Scott. And like I said, they literally have no one that has bid to host the 2030 Winter Games. So it's just something to look at. I love the Olympics every 4 years. I think it's a blast watching these sports. We talked a lot about it here earlier in the month. It's a lot of fun. You can, again, you can bet on it. But I feel bad for these cities that are just brutalized. So anyway, just something to talk about. That was really just my rant. So I apologize, but I wanted to get that off my chest. You got anything to add?
I feel like that's a decent comedy skit, but that's some potential to it. How you do a round of bidding for either the Olympics or the World Cup, except every
Right.
team is trying to lose the bidding.
Right.
And then the one team that like wins in the final round, their grand prize is like $4 billion in debt or something.
That's exactly right.
I think that's a pretty good skit idea.
I like it. I think that's very good. Would you like to see New York host the games?
I'm not paying for it, so sure.
Oh, yeah, they'd probably like have some kind of tourist tax or something that's utterly ridiculous. So.
I can only imagine how bad traffic would be. It would take 2 hours to move about a block and a half.
Hey, I want to ask you, and then we'll move on. But I've always wanted to ask a New Yorker this. First of all, have you ever been to Times Square for the ball drop?
For the ball drop, no.
Okay, I should have known better. I'm sure you were watching the ball games.
I got better use of my time.
I want to know how everybody gets the hell out of there, because everybody comes down at different times, different modes of transportation, whatever. But after midnight, everybody's leaving at the same time.
I like to
How long does it take to get?
Yeah, I like to envision a purge scenario where it's like a survival of the fittest situation.
I can't even imagine how long it takes you to get a train going back.
I don't even want to imagine that.
Got to be a minute. All right. Hey, we promised you a new segment. We're going to unveil it right now. We're not going to do it every show because, quite frankly, not everyone is deserving. But we do have somebody deserving tonight. Scott, what are we calling this? Holding out for a hero?
Yeah, works for me.
All right. And I'll try not to sing the song. Hey, we're holding out for a hero, everybody. Get ready. Beautiful. Beautiful. I like a little adagio there at the end. Scott, who is our hero today?
So we're going to go back and talk about another game in baseball from yesterday between the Padres and the Rockies. If you had the Rockies on the money line, you were in good shape. You were up 3 runs going into the ninth. And then the Rockies bullpen, not good, gave up. Actually, they might have been up 4 runs. But the point is they blew a massive lead in the ninth inning. And then you had a walk-off home run by our hero of the day, who is C.J. Cron. So if you had the Rockies on the money line and you were trying to avoid an all-time catastrophe and you were so close to being on Call the Cops, C.J. Cron saved you and even made you some money in the process. He's our hero of the day.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I was going to play it again, but it's over.
All good.
All right. I was going to see C.J. Cron. That's a very, very important award that he has been. He's the first Holding Out for a Hero award winner. Congratulations, C.J. Cron. All right, Scott. Well, we don't have any football tonight. I'm heartbroken, but we don't.
No Fun Belt?
No fun. Oh, man. Make it
so fun. That and the Mac?
Go Fun Belt, no Mac.
Yeah.
No Maction tonight. Oh, it's coming, buddy. It is coming. Is there anything better than Tuesday night college football?
Do you think there's anything better than fading Bowling Green on a Tuesday night?
You know who's going to be good this year is Toledo. They're going to be actually very good. Anyway, hey, I wanted to remind everybody or let everybody know that we are going to be doing our college football previews. We're going to be starting tomorrow. We're going to take a look at the Little Five and the Independents this week. And then we're going to be taking a look at the Power Five conferences next week. So you guys want to make sure that you stay tuned for that. We'll be going through them conference by conference and letting you know where your money should be and where your money should not be. Very good. All right. So now that I've teased it for something we're not going to do, let's talk about the baseball schedule. We have a full baseball schedule. Scott, we've even got extra baseball between the Yankees and the Red Sox because that's what America's clamoring for. Oh, please, could we see some more Yankees-Red Sox games? That'd be fantastic. So, Scott, kick us off. Who do you like tomorrow?
Well, talking about the Yankees-Red Sox doubleheader, I'm a little bit concerned because they have about 6 hours in between from the start of Game 1 to the start of Game 2. With the Yankees-Red Sox game, are they sure they're going to finish the first 7-inning game in 6 hours?
My God, those games just how does that happen? How do they take forever?
It's a great question. The Yankees games tend to take a long time anyway. Yankees Red Sox games, I understand you want to speed the game up. You might want to never have these teams play against each other if you're trying to speed up the game. Because
Oh,
these games take at least 5 hours.
you look up in a 9 inning game, it's 3-1. You look up, it's been 3 hours and 45 minutes. You're like, how is that even possible?
Yep, pretty much.
Do you like anybody in those games? You've got our boy Hauk going, and that's going to be an early game. So never mind. That's good. That's our 1 day game. I'd like to start with the one game that nobody's going to be able to see, Scott. And there's no odds on it. So perfect place to start. We do like Hauk though. We're kind of fans, right?
Yeah, I lost on his last start against Tampa. He pitched well, but Boston couldn't hit, so I'm not going to blame that on Hauk. But he's good. Looking at the late game in that one, though, you have Gill going up against Eovaldi. Eovaldi always pitches well against the Yankees. It's just a team that he's always dominated. Meanwhile, Gill has made 2 starts. He's not allowed to run yet. So I'm looking at potentially the first – I don't know if you can get a first 5 in there for a 7-inning game, but I'm looking at the under at 6.5 there. I know Boston's offense has been good lately, but they also faced off against Baltimore, so I don't know if that really counts. The Yankees offense still is dealing with a bunch of COVID, and the team really has not looked that sharp offensively. Gary Sanchez is supposed to come back. Do I think he's going to look great in his first game off COVID? No. So I like the under. I think you'll see a low-scoring game.
In fairness, you hated him before he had COVID.
I didn't say that I thought he'd be good without COVID. I'm just saying I don't expect him to look sharp in his first game coming off of COVID as well.
Tell me the story of this Gill kid. What is this? Benji Gill? Turner Gill? Who is it?
Very close. It's actually Luis Gill.
Luis Gill.
Yeah, he's been very good. This young prospect who we called up, and he's been solid. Now his pitch counts tend to get up there a little bit, so he's probably going to go 5, maybe 6 if lucky. But at the end of the day, Eovaldi's been good against the Yankees. Gill's been good, and the Yankees offense we know has been overrated all year long. I'm looking at the under.
Okay, that's solid. That's solid. How about, man? There's a lot of entertaining games. Hey, how about those Kansas City Royals, Scott?
They won a game. They're on fire.
They did. They beat the Houston Astros. Big dog there, by the way. Nicely done, my Kansas City Royals. And we talked about this before the show. That was a fun game to watch. I had no betting interest. I just watched it as a fan, and it was fun. They traded the lead. They traded home runs. It went back and forth. Royals had a 2-run lead in the 9th. They had to give up a home run, of course, to make it a 1-run game. But at the end of the day, it was a fun game. 7-6 Royals victory. Can they get 2 in a row behind Daniel Lynch here?
I'm not picking them. I think Valdez is the much better pitcher. I think that Houston's a much better team. Lynch, I know, has been better after the abysmal start he had to his career in the pros.
Yep.
The last start against the Yankees, I wouldn't say he was awful, but he definitely struggled. I think the more film you get on the guy, the more he's going to struggle or go back to being underwhelming. I like Houston. I think they're going to score a decent amount of runs in this game. If you want to take a flyer with Kansas City, I don't hate it because Valdez has not been as sharp as he has been in years past. Still been pretty good overall, though. But I like Valdez in general. I'll take Houston.
With the run line there, you're not going to lay the value, right?
Yeah, I'm going to take the run line because I think you'd agree with me that Lynch, despite being decent lately, are you a little bit concerned that his last start didn't exactly go that well?
Yeah, throwing 100 pitches to not even get out of the 5th is definitely concerning. I don't like the fact that he's walking too many guys, Scott. He's walked 8 guys over his last 15 and 2/3 innings. That's not good when your walk rate's up there over 4 per 9.
And we mentioned that with Garrett pitching for Miami yesterday and how we thought he'd walk a bunch of guys. I believe he walked 3 in the first inning, and Atlanta ended up with 12. So 12 runs total. So might get ugly a bit for Kansas City, but we'll see.
Okay. All right. Very good. What else you got your eye on?
Looking at the rest of the card, I got to keep in mind the Reds minus 145. I know that Kyle Hendricks has been the Cubs' only good pitcher all season long. I mentioned it before. I'll say it again. The Cubs have played 15 games in August. They're 1-14. How are the Reds minus 145?
Are the odds makers drunk, Scott?
They could be. We're gonna find out. We're gonna find that out tomorrow for the show. But based on value alone, don't the Cubs, especially against the Reds should have to be blindly minus 170, don't you think?
That seems right. I know they're giving a lot of respect to Kyle Hendricks, and he's been, like you said, he's been the guy with one shoe in the land of the barefoot, Scott. He's been good for the Cubs, but I don't know. Would you call him having a good season? Would you
He
call
is
that a
fourth.
great?
I mean, he's got a fourth of the team's wins. He's
That
13
is
and 5.
that is so sad. He's got a 4.15 ERA, 1.34 WHIP, and he is by far the team's best pitcher.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, we know the Cubs bullpen stinks. They're throwing out a AAA team out there. I got to look at the Reds minus 145 because the Reds are still playing for something.
Yeah. Yeah, in the Reds offense, they can bop. Now, it's always touch and go with that bullpen for the Reds. You've always got to hang on by the skin of your teeth, and you may end up on call the cops.
Touch and go with the Cubs bullpen too.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So I'm a fan of that one. Well, let's talk about it. But first, I want to remind everybody we're coming down the home stretch here. We're going to be coming up with our Bet the Farm play here in just a minute. Of course, this is Winners and Winers Radio. Give us an hour. We'll give you the winners. Scott, are we going to steal some money again? Are we just going to fade the Orioles? Is there any way not to?
Of course we're going to do it. I don't know how we're not supposed to do it. I mean, Rasmussen was great in his last outing. Means struggled, from what I remember, against Detroit. Now, Means as a whole we know is good,
Right.
but he also has had injury issues all season long. You want to talk about the length? You can kind of assume he's going to end up going maybe 5 or 6. He was good against Tampa in his last start against them, but guess what? The Orioles still lost that game by 4 runs. Orioles bullpen's terrible. Like, if he doesn't go distance, it doesn't matter how well he pitches.
No, and here's the thing. Since Means came back from his injury, it looks like he should be pitching for the Cubs. 5.67 ERA.
Yeah, it hasn't been good.
Yeah, not good at all. He's given up 32 hits in just 27 innings. So he has been a below average pitcher since he came back from injury there about a month ago on the 20th of July. He's made 5 starts, and they've lost 3 of those 5. So it's not the John Means that we were catching value on early in the season when they would be drunk on the other side and giving us too much play with the Orioles and disrespecting Means. We did do okay there, but you got to be flexible, Scott. You've got to be able to adjust. And if ever there was a time to fade this Baltimore Oriole team, it's got to be now. I don't know how you don't do it. Yes, one of these days they're going to win. They're going to beat the run line. They're not going to lose. It's absolutely going to happen, I promise you. But until that time, fade City.
You have the guts to take an under 7 between Burns and Wainwright?
I had a cap at 7.5. I liked that play a lot at 7.5. I don't know. I've got to look at it again. I think I still like it at 7. I just don't like it quite as much.
I mean, you can get an alternative run line to get 7.5 juiced because right now it's juiced to the over at 7. So if you want to get 7.5, you could probably get minus 120, minus 125.
Yeah. I'm okay with 7.5 there. I don't. You look at the recent numbers for St. Louis, and they've put up some runs lately, but if you look at who they've played, as 6 games against the Royals, 3 games against the Pirates. So facing Corbin Burns and the Brewers is going to be a little bit different. And the thing about it is, Brewers with Corbin Burns on the mound have held the opposition to 2.7 runs per game in the 20 starts. So it's hard to get there. Burns faced the Cardinals earlier in the season, gave up 2 runs, and that was all they needed as the Brewers scored nada. And that one obviously went under. Wainwright's only pitching outing against the Brewers. That one went under. Yeah, I've got to play this at 7 or 7.5, I think.
Yep, I agree. And I'm also looking at Toronto on the run line, taking on the Nationals. I'm not a fan of Fetty Wap, and I think Fetty's going to struggle in the start. Manoah's been good. Manoah, you love him. He's been good. Toronto, I am a little bit concerned without Springer because I know Springer got injured again, which is upsetting because he's been so good whenever he's actually able to play, but he's never actually been able to play. So I think that might be an issue. But as a whole, I definitely think Toronto should look pretty sharp here. Nationals got nothing to play for. Besides Soto, this team stinks. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Blue Jays there. Thoughts?
All right, Scott, we got time for one more. Give me one more winner, my friend, and then we'll go to farm.
Well, I'm tempted by the actual game involving the Braves and the Marlins. I know you got on the mound against Alcantara. Alcantara has been good this season. Has been absent because he's been injured. But the Braves are about minus 125 here. Braves, of course, in first place now. I'm sure you're thrilled about that. Marlins are struggling. They can't hit. I know that you can look at the pitching matchup alone and be tempted by Miami. Don't I have to like Atlanta at such a cheap price against a bottom feeder team with nothing to play for?
I think you do. Although this Miami team, man, they've been playing better ball lately. They've been actually scoring runs. That's kind of the unusual thing with the Marlins right now. They've averaged about 5 runs, Scott, over the last couple of weeks. So that's something. But it hasn't pitched since May the 16th, and pitching very well. Had a 3.02 ERA. Got shelled his last time out, maybe because he had an injury. I'm going to steer clear of that one, my friend.
Works for me. I'm just asking.
I will wish you nothing but the best, however. I think it's pretty impressive, Scott, that you and I gave out a couple of futures well before the All-Star break. We liked the Braves. I actually we had one that we liked, and one that didn't work out because I liked the Braves. I also took the Marlins at 40-1. That didn't work out so well. The Braves money, that's been going all right. And then the American League East, you had a couple of nice calls. You had the Rays and you have the Red Sox, and one of those looks really good.
Yep.
So there you go. So if you guys listen to us, we promise to give you winners, and knock, 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 knock on wood. Ain't over yet. But we're in first place right now. It's where you want to be.
Definitely true.
All right, let's do it, Scott. We're going to give the pick where you and I get together. We put our heads together. We come up with our very best play. Everybody asks us every day, what play? What is the one play you guys are on? If you had to bet everything, if you had to put it all in the middle, this is the play. Hey, strap on those overalls. Put on your straw hat. Climb on that John Deere and fire that sucker up because it's time for Bet the Farm. All right, very good. Our farm trout play for this evening, it's going to be, you know them, you love them. It's those lovable Tigres up there in Motor City. The Detroit Tigers, team total over 4.5. Scott, who's on the mound for the Tigers that we don't trust?
Well, on the Tigers, pretty much every pitcher they have we don't trust, but it's Casey Mize.
That's right.
Has not been sharp.
It was a trick. It was a trick question. Casey Mize has done well for us lately. Looks like the league maybe figured him out just a little bit, so we want no part of him. We want no part of this Tigers bullpen, but we will take him against Dylan Bundy and the Angels to do their thing because the Tigers, they've been scoring some runs, Scott. They've scored at least 5 runs in 5 of their last 7. Like I mentioned, Dylan Bundy, remember when he used to be something? Yeah, me neither. He's pitching for the Angels, and it's a night game. Why is that important? Because Dylan Bundy does not do well at night. 43 innings pitched, 7.48 ERA. 7.48 ERA. He's not good on the road. 42 innings pitched, 5.57 ERA. And the Angels bullpen, even though they've been better lately, that is a unit that's doing it with mirrors because they suck. 4.63 ERA, 10th highest in the majors. We're going to see the Tigers. We don't care about Casey Mize. We don't care about another terrible bullpen, which is what the Tigers have because it features who, Scott? Very appropriate name for this play.
I'm drawing a blank.
Buck Farmer.
Oh, of course.
Buck Farmer.
Of course.
So
I thought I got demoted.
Our Bet the Farm play is going to be the Detroit Tigers team total over 4.5. Get out there and make it your play. For myself, for Scott Rice Show, we appreciate you guys listening today. That's going to be a wrap on the Tuesday show. Good luck on all of your plays for today. Hope every one of those tickets in your pocket turns into cash money when you head back to the window. You guys have a great day. We'll see you next time on Winners and Winers Radio. Take care, everybody.